everyone, and welcome back to the show. Today's episode is all about one of the most iconic cities in the world, London. Not just London in the "I saw a red bus once" kind of way. We are talking about London in the full, glorious, rain-kissed, history-soaked, tea-sipping, double-decker bus riding experience.
Oh, absolutely. London is not just a city. London is a whole mood. It is the kind of place that can be elegant, chaotic, historical, modern, and slightly confusing, all at the same time.
That is the perfect description. You can be standing in front of a 900-year-old castle, then turn around and see a giant glass building that looks like it came from the future.
And somehow it all works. That is the magic of London. It does not try too hard. It just is. But let's be honest. If you are traveling to London for the first time, you need more than just excitement. You need a smart plan, a little street sense, and a good umbrella.
A good umbrella? No, Sophia. In London, a good umbrella is not an accessory. It is a survival tool.
Exactly. Forget expensive shoes. Forget fancy outfits. If you go to London, the real luxury item is an umbrella that will not turn inside out the moment the wind gets dramatic.
That wind has attitude. It does not merely blow. It judges.
It absolutely does. But before we get too deep into the weather's personality, let's talk about why London is such an irresistible travel destination.
Yes, let's start with the basics. London is the capital of the United Kingdom, but it feels like many cities stitched into one enormous, lively masterpiece. You have royal landmarks, world-class museums, elegant parks, buzzing markets, famous theaters, and neighborhoods that all have their own flavor.
And that is one of the smartest parts of traveling in London. You do not just visit London in one single way. You experience different Londons. There is classic London, artistic London, luxury London, student London, street food London, quiet London, and the kind of London where you pretend you are in a movie because the street looks too perfect.
I love that. Pretend you are in a movie is basically a London travel strategy.
It really is. Now, let's begin with the famous places, because yes, they are famous for a reason.
Big Ben first?
Of course. Everyone says Big Ben, but technically Big Ben is the bell, not the tower.
Look at you, Miss Trivia Queen.
I come prepared. The tower is now called Elizabeth Tower, and it is one of the most recognizable sights in the city. When people first see it, they usually stop, stare, and say something like, "Oh, wow," or "I've seen this in movies," or "My phone camera is not doing this justice."
That is exactly what happens. And right near it, you have the Houses of Parliament, which are stunning. Even if you are not a politics person, the architecture alone is worth the visit. It looks serious, grand, and slightly like it knows your secrets.
Then there is Westminster Abbey, which is deeply historic and breathtaking. This is the kind of place where you lower your voice naturally because the building seems to command respect.
And it should. The history there is extraordinary. Kings and queens, weddings, coronations, memorials. This place has seen it all. It is not just a tourist spot. It is part of the living memory of Britain.
Now, if you want the classic photo moment, go to the Tower Bridge. Not London Bridge, Tower Bridge.
Ah, yes, the great tourist confusion.
Every city has one. In London, the bridge people actually want is Tower Bridge. It is beautiful, dramatic, and proudly old-fashioned in the best way. If you can, walk across it, take in the views, and enjoy the river.
And speaking of the river, a Thames River walk is such a lovely way to experience London. You can see the city unfold beside you in a very relaxed, scenic way. It is perfect when you want to slow down and let the city breathe around you.
That is a very poetic way to say, walk along the river.
I was feeling dramatic.
Good. Travel needs drama. But it also needs practical advice. So let us move into transportation, because London can be amazing and slightly intimidating if you do not know how to get around.
True. The London Underground, or the Tube, is one of the most efficient ways to move through the city. The map may look like a colorful puzzle made by a very organized person, but once you understand it, it becomes your best friend.
And if you do not understand it right away, that is fine. Nobody truly understands the tube on the first day. They just nod confidently and follow the crowd.
That is a very London skill. You look calm on the outside while your brain is whispering, "Am I on the right line?"
Exactly. My advice? Use contactless payment or an Oyster card. It is much easier than buying a separate ticket for every ride. And always check the route before you get on, because London has many lines and many possibilities, which sounds beautiful until you are standing on the wrong platform.
And do not forget that some stations can be very deep. Very deep. You go down those escalators and start wondering whether you are actually entering the underground transport system or a secret government facility.
Both, perhaps.
Maybe, but the tube is efficient, iconic, and often fast. Still, sometimes the most enjoyable way to see London is actually by walking. Some neighborhoods are best appreciated on foot.
Yes, for example, South Bank is perfect for a relaxed stroll. Covent Garden is lively and charming. Notting Hill has pretty streets and colorful houses. Soho is energetic, stylish, and full of life. And Camden? Camden is bold, creative, and wonderfully eccentric.
Camden is where London says, "Let's wear something interesting and eat something even more interesting."
That is a perfect summary.
Now let's talk food, because no trip is complete until we discuss what you are eating.
Very true. London's food scene is far better than the old stereotypes suggest. Yes, you can find traditional British meals, but you can also find food from all over the world, beautifully prepared and endlessly varied.
Traditional first. You have fish and chips, which is one of the most famous dishes in the UK. Crispy batter, flaky fish, golden chips, and often a little salt and vinegar. Simple, comforting, and very satisfying after a long day of sightseeing.
Then there is afternoon tea, which is not just a snack. It is a whole ceremony of elegance. Tiny sandwiches, warm scones, jam, clotted cream, pastries, and tea served in a way that makes you sit up straighter.
And suddenly you feel like a royal guest, even if you are just a tired tourist with a backpack and sore feet.
Exactly. But London also has incredible markets. Borough Market is famous for gourmet food and amazing variety. You can sample cheese, baked goods, fresh produce, international dishes, desserts, and so much more.
And if you are the kind of traveler who likes grazing through a city instead of sitting for one giant meal, markets are perfect. You can try a little of everything.
Speaking of trying a little of everything, you also need to be strategic with coffee in London. Not because the coffee is bad, far from it, but because walking around London can turn you into a person who strongly believes in caffeine.
That is not travel advice. That is emotional support.
Same thing.
Now, let us discuss where to stay. London has all kinds of accommodation, from luxury hotels to budget-friendly hostels to stylish apartments. The best area depends on your travel style.
If it is your first visit, staying somewhere central can make life much easier. Areas like Westminster, Covent Garden, Kensington, or South Bank can be excellent for sightseeing. They are well connected and close to major attractions.
But if you want something a little more local and less tourist-heavy, neighborhoods like Shoreditch, Camden, or Greenwich can offer a different atmosphere.
Yes, Shoreditch is trendy and creative. Greenwich is more peaceful and historic. Camden is youthful and edgy. Each one gives you a different version of the city.
And here is a very practical travel tip. London can be expensive. So before booking anything, think about your priorities. Do you want to be near the attractions, near nightlife, near transport, or near a quiet place where you can sleep without hearing the city's heartbeat?
That is important. London is not the kind of place where you should book carelessly, and then complain later that your hotel is only 50 minutes from everything.
Right. In London, 50 minutes can feel like a small journey across a kingdom.
Now, let's talk about museums, because London does museums better than almost anywhere else.
The British Museum is one of the most famous. It holds treasures from many parts of the world and offers a massive look at human history. You could spend hours there and still not see everything.
Then there is the Natural History Museum, which is fantastic for families, students, and anyone who still gets excited by dinosaurs.
Which is everyone.
Obviously. And the Victoria and Albert Museum is a dream for art, fashion, and design lovers. The National Gallery is another gem, with masterpieces that make you stand and stare a little longer than usual.
One of the best things about London museums is that many of them are free or have free general admission.
That is such a kind feature of the city. You can enjoy world-class culture without feeling like every step is draining your wallet.
Although, to be fair, the souvenir shop may still test your self-control.
Oh, it will. It absolutely will. You walk in saying, "I am only browsing," and you walk out with a tote bag, a fridge magnet, and a book you did not plan to buy.
That is the museum experience.
Now let's make this trip more than landmarks and museums. Let's talk about the actual feeling of London.
Yes, because travel is not only about ticking boxes, it is about atmosphere. London has a very specific atmosphere. It feels polished but lived in, historic but current, serious but full of humor.
And people sometimes imagine Londoners as very reserved, but once you start talking, you realize the city is full of warm, witty, clever people. Their humor is often subtle, which means you may miss the joke and laugh 3 seconds later.
That is because the joke is wearing a scarf and standing in the corner.
Exactly. London humor can be dry, clever, and delightfully understated.
Let's also talk about parks, because London is surprisingly green. You can escape the noise and find calm in places like Hyde Park, Regent's Park, St. James's Park, and Kensington Gardens.
And that is one of London's best qualities. You can move from a busy street into a peaceful park in a matter of minutes. Suddenly, the city softens. The air feels lighter. The ducks are living their best lives. And you, for a moment, feel like you have unlocked a secret level of travel.
St. James's Park is especially lovely because it gives you that classic London feel with elegant pathways, water, and beautiful views. Hyde Park is bigger and great for long walks or just relaxing. If the weather is kind, it is wonderful.
If the weather is not kind, it is still wonderful, but in a more, "I guess I live here now" kind of way.
There it is again, the weather.
Because it deserves attention. Let's be honest, London weather is unpredictable. One moment it is bright, the next moment the sky looks like it forgot its responsibilities. So pack layers, pack a jacket, pack something practical. Fashion is important, yes, but comfort is wiser.
And shoes. Good walking shoes are essential. London is a city that rewards the traveler who is prepared to walk.
That is true. You may look at the map and think, "Oh, that is close." Then you start walking and discover that London's idea of close is sometimes imaginative.
Still, the walking is worth it. You notice small details: a beautiful doorway, a quiet square, a bookshop, a red phone booth, a little cafe tucked between grand old buildings. Those are the moments that make travel memorable.
Exactly. And if you love photography, London is basically a gift. Every street can become a scene. Every bridge, every market, every station, every park has its own character.
Now, let's mention some neighborhoods in a bit more detail, because travelers should know where the city's personality changes.
Great idea. Start with Notting Hill. It is famous for colorful houses, charming streets, and the kind of aesthetic that makes people stop and take 200 photos of the same doorway.
Then there is Covent Garden, which feels lively, artistic, and playful. You can find performers, shops, cafes, and plenty of energy.
Soho is another favorite. It is vibrant, stylish, and always buzzing. If you want restaurants, nightlife, and a city center experience, Soho delivers.
And Shoreditch is perfect if you enjoy creativity, street art, independent shops, and a more alternative atmosphere.
Yes, it has a youthful, artistic pulse. Very cool, very lively, very I know a place, even if you are the person who just arrived yesterday.
Greenwich, on the other hand, feels calmer and more reflective. It has history, beautiful views, and a slower rhythm. It is excellent for travelers who want a more relaxed day.
Now, one thing I love about London is how easy it is to build a travel day around different moods. In the morning, you can visit a museum. In the afternoon, you can have tea or stroll along the river. In the evening, you can watch a show in the West End.
Ah, yes, the West End, a London classic.
Exactly. If you enjoy theater, this is one of the best places in the world to experience live performance. Musicals, dramas, comedies, you can find it all.
And even if you are not usually a theater person, London can convert you. There is something special about sitting in a historic theater and feeling the whole audience lean into the same moment.
That is true. It feels communal in a very beautiful way.
Now, let's go back to practical travel tips, because detail matters.
First, plan your days loosely. London offers a lot, but trying to do everything in one rush is a mistake. Choose a few major sites, a neighborhood to explore, and one special experience.
Second, use the tube and buses wisely. Buses are especially good if you want to see the city above ground while you travel.
Third, check opening times before you go anywhere important. Some places may have different hours depending on the day.
Fourth, keep some patience with you. London is a global city, so it can be busy, but if you stay calm and organized, the city becomes much easier to enjoy.
And fifth, leave space for spontaneity. Some of the best travel moments happen when you are not rushing. Maybe you discover a tiny bakery. Maybe you stumble upon a street market. Maybe you pause in a park and realize the city feels even better than you expected.
That is such a good point. Travel is not just about famous attractions. It is also about atmosphere, surprise, and memory.
And for London, memory is everything. The city has layers. You can feel old stories in the streets, but also fresh energy everywhere.
Which is why so many people fall in love with it. London is not a place that gives you one simple emotion. It gives you many.
A little wonder, a little admiration, a little confusion, a little hunger, a little rain, a little joy.
And sometimes all at once.
Exactly. That is London in one sentence.
Before we wrap up, let's each give one final travel tip for London.
Mine is this. Do not only chase the famous landmarks. Yes, see them, absolutely. But also slow down and explore the neighborhoods. Sit in a cafe, walk through a park, watch the city move. London becomes richer when you let it breathe.
Beautiful. My tip is this: dress smart, walk often, and stay flexible. London rewards the traveler who is ready for weather, distance, and surprises. Keep your plans useful, not rigid.
That is excellent advice.
And remember, if you get a little lost in London, that is not always a problem. Sometimes it is the beginning of a great story.
That sounds wise, but also like something said by someone who definitely got lost in Camden and pretended it was intentional.
I refuse to confirm or deny that.
Wonderful. That is all for today's episode, everyone. We hope you enjoyed our little journey through London.
And we hope you feel more prepared, more excited, and maybe even a little entertained.
Because travel should not feel like a school lesson.
It should feel like discovery.
And in London, discovery is everywhere.
Thanks for listening, and we will see you in the next episode.
Until then, keep exploring, keep laughing, and never trust a London forecast too quickly.
Absolutely. Goodbye, everyone.
Bye!